Greetings, people who really like the accordion and who really like people who do crocodile impersonations. Now, I did several videos on how to get to the blues scale. I called it Pathways to the Blues Scale. You can make your way to a blues scale by learning the traditional method. All right, you study the traditional blues scales. You can use my system, the scalephrase system, or you can work it out tone by tone and see what works and what doesn't by using perfect chord substitution. That's my theoretical perfect chord. You could use my really handy circle shortcut, which I love, or you could use my really handy minor 7 diminished 5 chord shortcut. So those are the pathways to the blues scale. But you say, well, what if I want to use a non-blues scale, kind of a regular scale, and you ask, is there any way I can approach the scale, and is there any kind of handy system I can use that my mind can use that I can negotiate the scale a little bit better, a little easier? Well, there might be. I'm not sure. I'm just throwing this out. Okay, let's say you took a traditional scale. All right, let me show you this. Here's a scale in my system I call the F Harmonic Minor 2 scale. Excuse me. And I call it that because in my scale system, my scales are made of 2 scale phrases, 2 4-tone groups. So that would be the Harmonic Minor 2 scale because you have a harmonic scale phrase and a minor 2 scale phrase. Now here's the traditional name, F Phrygian Dominant. Right? You might have seen or heard this scale before. And this is a scale where you would use if you're kind of looking for an Arabic or a Middle Eastern sound. It's really nice, and I'll play it shortly. Now, when you're looking to find that blues scale, a non-traditional way, kind of an easy way, I told you this before, you take your theoretical perfect chord and you mix it with another regular chord. In this example, it's a C perfect chord and an E flat minor regular chord. All right, you mix the tones together, and you use a thing I call, I don't know if I invented it, but I'm the only one I know who uses it. I call it idiomatic alternation. And when you're working with the blues, the blues are played all over the world. When you're doing that, you honor it by giving it a kind of a catchphrase coin name, and I call that the Mississippi Melon. So we already talked about that, but the key thing here is, can we use idiomatic alternation outside the realm of the blues scale? You see here in the blues scale with my system, you had your theoretical perfect chord, then you had your regular basic minor chord, and you put the tones on paper, and you show how they look. When you play them, you alternate. You go from a tone from one chord to a tone in the other chord. And so we already discussed that. So now you know kind of what we're talking about. Idiomatic alternation. Now, you can take this scale and you can learn it. I've showed the Harmonic Minor 2 before, and another piece of music in a different key. But you can take this and learn it. And then you can go ahead and learn all the other scales the regular way. You look at them, you play them, you memorize them. It takes you, a year, and you know all the scales. Boom, you're good to go. All right? But I say, is there any other way for the kind of person, especially the modern person, the young person who lives in a world of electromagnetism, and it makes them think and feel different, and it keeps them going and keeps them excited and keeps them restless, by the way. So what if there's a different way of looking at that scale and learning how to play it? So let me pick up my handy accordion. And yes, there's an actual accordion in this video. Hard to believe, huh? So I pick up my handy accordion with my homemade straps, which are working out quite nicely, by the way. And I look at this scale. Okay, I can't hold this paper, but I'm going to play this, what I call the F Harmonic Minor 2 scale. And I want to I'm hoping for a kind of a Middle Eastern sound, right? So this is what I would use, if you can see it. Again. So you practice that over and over and over for days, for weeks, and you got it, and you probably memorize it. But as a normal succession of tones, you say, okay, that's just another scale. It's a normal succession of tones. But what if we look at it differently? Might it help some people who think differently? So what I say is, I learned when I was discovering and inventing pathways to the blues, I discovered something and I call it idiomatic alternation. Idiomatic meaning it's peculiar to a particular style. And basically it's almost kind of natural. It's almost like you kind of have to do it. You kind of naturally want to do it. So that's why I call it that. Now, so when I look at this scale, all right, when I'm playing it and looking at it, because I have a warped mind, I have a strange way of looking at things. You know my videos. I'm unconventional. I even have my own clef. All right, I see something. I see something in here. Over the years, I've seen many things. So what I see in that scale is, I see an F dominant 7 chord. I see an F dominant 7 chord, and I hear it. And it doesn't sound Middle Eastern or Arabic at all. But I also see an F sharp major chord, the basic F sharp major. And there's nothing Arabic or Middle Eastern about that sound. It's just not there. F dominant 7, F sharp major. And there's nothing that I can hear that's Arabic or Middle Eastern or exotic in that sound. But I learned something. When I developed the pathways to the blues, I said, oh, there might be more here than meets the eye and the ear. So we have F dominant 7, that's clear. F sharp major. And what about that handy idiomatic alternation? Now, if you can't picture that without visual aid, let's look at the chord. This is my notation. That's what I use in my system. Here's standard. You would just see F7, and you would see this chord. All right? F dominant 7. And over here you would see F sharp major. That's what I use in my system. And here's standard. You wouldn't even need the letter M. You would just see F sharp, and you know that's a major. But that's the chord. All right? So here's the two chords I showed, and these are the two chords that appear not only on paper, but in my mind. They appear in this scale. You see that? They appear in the scale, and you say, well, you know what? That's a real thing. You say, Joey, you don't need to make anything up. It's a real thing. Now, so what do we do? Well, let's use my notation. If you took a dominant 7, that's your tonic, all right? Chord, and you add it to a major chord built on your minor second, the tone at the minor second interval. That's a chord. What do you get? You get the harmonic minor 2 scale. Now here's traditional notation. This is what you're used to. You see a 7, that would mean dominant 7, and that's your tonic. It's built on your tonic. And you have a major chord built on the tone at an interval of a minor second from the tonic, and you get what traditionally would be called the Phrygian Dominant scale. It's the same scale, but just a different name. It's the same scale, and you have these two chords, all right, in that scale. You already know that. This is not complicated. You already know this. So what do? Well, you just like you did with the blues scale, you take those tones, the F dominant 7, and you add it to the F sharp major. Now there's traditional. That's what you're used to. All right, I'll give you that. And you map them out. You can take a peek at them. and you have your F dominant 7 tones, clearly notated, clearly marked, right? You have your F sharp major tones clearly noted, there's no confusion, and you alternate those tones, and it looks like this. Now here, you have two F dominant 7 tones beside each other, and that's because this chord has 4 tones in it. Excuse me, yeah, this chord has 4 tones, and this has 3, unlike the blues scale, which is 3 plus 3. So you have an extra one, but idiomatically, when you think it through, you see that this interval is only 2 half steps, so that's going to work. That's going to work because this F dominant 7, this bass chord, this basic chord you're using, has 4 tones, and this has only 3. All right, so there you have your tones. Only you're looking at some weird thing, and you say, what the hell is that? Well, it's the same as this, and harmonically, it's the same as this. But in your mind, you're seeing it differently. Now you take your mind, you say, okay, I see what you're saying so far, but how can I ever learn to play that? Well, you just do it. You have F dominant 7, and you have your F sharp major. And you're looking down at your keyboard, and you have the benefit, the advantage of being able to see what you're playing, and you look at it, and then you alternate. You say, oh. Remember we went from this and this. It does sound Arabic or Middle Eastern, but when you use idiomatic alternation, which I invented, now you start to sound Middle Eastern. You get that exotic flavor. I mean, if you're from the United States or mainland Europe. So the point is, you got somewhere, and you can envision the dominant 7 and the F sharp major. You can do that, but when you mix them, you alternate one after the other, you have a whole different sound. It's a beautiful thing. I think it's easy. All you need to know is your chords. And you mix them. I don't need to go on and on. If you grasp the concept, you can do this. And you can do it with other keys. You can do it with other keys. For example, watch this. What I had was, in my mind, I had the C dominant 7, D flat major. C dominant 7, D flat major. Doesn't sound Middle Eastern, but if you put them together with idiomatic alternation, it's a whole different ballgame. Did you hear it? Now, think it through, try to work it out. Now, I was told that in Europe, most people play the chromatic button accordion. I was told that most people don't use the piano keyboard accordions. Some do, but I was told that this is very, very popular. And there's 2 systems. I don't own one, but they're called the C system and the B system. And I'm told that in Europe, the B system is very, very popular, and in America, the C system is very popular. So I wanted to show you, getting back to the F dominant 7 and the F sharp major. If you wanted to play the scale that I do with idiomatic alternation, here would be the tones on the chromatic button accordion, there's different patterns. You see, there's all different ways to play on this kind of accordion. It's a beautiful thing. I kind of wish I had one just to fool with it. But here you have one possible progression. Boom, 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 boom. See, like that? You know, people who use this kind of accordion would know exactly how to do this. And here's another option. See, there's a whole nother option here. And then here's another one. And then here's another one. But see, that's what you would get. You could choose whatever you're comfortable with. And I showed the row number on the edge here if you kind of want to stop your video at print screen. But anyway, that's what you would use, or would see on a chromatic button accordion using the C system. And like I have to warn you, I don't have one of these accordions. I just found it on the internet and I thought, well, that's what I would do. I would work it out and that's what I would get. Okay, I know that took long, but the whole idea is we're not making a pathway to the blues. That's established. I love my circle shortcut, but I thought, is there any other use for idiomatic alternation? And I think there is, but I'll let you be the judge. I'll let you be the judge. On the key of C. That's just a C dominant 7, the tones of C dominant 7, and the tones of D flat major. With idiomatic alternation, you mix them, you alternate, and that's what you get. It's an actual fact. You just heard me do it, and you can do it. Think about it. If you like it, practice, and I bet you it'll be very useful for you. So thanks for being incredibly patient, and I have to go. So see you later. Good night.